Inside the Gamecocks, the show always brought to you by our friends at Resto Pros of the Midlands, Resto Pros, midlandssc.com, and built by the Barn Dominium Co., building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and in Tennessee. One of the nation's best builders. They are Gamecock owned and operated. So is Resto Pros, and so are we, and we're glad to have you. It's 11 o'clock on the final day of the month of July. Football starts at the end of the week. JC, Phil, myself, JB, Mike Morgan will be along here in just a little while, but we have a very special guest today. He's been kind enough to pop on and spend some time in his busy schedule, the athletics director of the Gamecocks, Coach Ray Tanner. What's up, man?
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Good. You're back from vacation. Where'd you go?
Well, it's not much of a vacation. It's kind of short. I was just down at Paulie's for a few days early July.
Yeah. Do you know where Smoke is right now?
If I had to guess, he's probably on the water somewhere. Or it could be on a golf course. But
I don't know.
One of the two.
If it's the water or golf course, Coach, it's in the Turks and Caicos.
Wow.
Oh. Tough life, man.
That means Kristen planned it because he doesn't go too far.
He doesn't leave the neighborhood anymore, Coach. I mean, he moved into a neighborhood to be a member of the golf course. He doesn't even leave the neighborhood. So
it's not bad being Justin Smoke.
No,
you can do a lot worse. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right. Kristen planned everything. I don't even think Smoke knew them when they were leaving until they got on the plane. But man, we are glad to have you. Good to see you. I'm going to try to run the gamut with you with as much stuff. You got so much going on, and we're really excited to talk to you about it. And baseball is always at the top of the list for me when I get to talk to you. That's your bread and butter. And now Paul Mainieri is your head coach, a championship coach coaching a championship program, and we had a chance to we spent an hour with him, Coach. He came on and talked and just kept talking, and it was awesome. What a great guy. What is it about Paul that you think will elevate this program back into being a consistent championship contender?
I think it's just the fact that he has a history of success. He's been there, done that. He's not a one-hit wonder. He's put in a lot of time to accomplish what he's accomplished as a professional. And for whatever reason, along the way, he and I became great competitors, but friends who respected the game and each other when we played it. And we maintained that. And when we were in the search for a new coach, we had a couple of conversations, but he had been involved the year previous in a couple of opportunities, but he didn't take them. Mm-hmm. I really wasn't sure that our situation would be anything that he'd be interested in, and I didn't really go into the conversation that way. But as it so happened, as I like to tell him, he never finished the book. His final chapter hasn't been written, and he's excited about writing that. And he loves our environment. He loves who we are, what we stand for, the environment of baseball here at the University of South Carolina. And he and I talked this morning for about 40 minutes. The good news having him here now is people tell me that he tells more stories than I do, and he talks longer. So I'm not the guy that messes up all the meetings anymore. He's the one. So that's a good thing. He's got lots of stories.
Yeah, he told us a bunch of. Now, if he wins a national championship, that gives him 2, and he ties you. I'm assuming that's okay. You're all right with that?
Oh, I would be more than all right with that. That's a great thing. I loved in his press conference when I think he was just talking or being asked by somebody in the media about his time frame, and his response was immediate. Time frame. I'm not looking at a 3-year, 5-year plan. It's now.
Yeah.
And he's got a great staff that he has put together and kept Coach Lee on staff. And so here we go. And I think they put together a pretty good squad. I've been tracking on their roster that they'll bring to campus here in a few days. And it looks like a team that can get in the mix. A lot of questions, 16 teams now, and everybody's good, but looks like he's got a squad that can get in the mix a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
Well, you mentioned Monty. I've known Monty virtually my entire life. I'm never ashamed to say I love him dearly. And even when he hit those 3 home runs against y'all back in 1999, even the third base hecklers couldn't keep him out of Columbia. He came back and coached for you, and now he's back again. Why was it important to keep him on staff?
Well, I think because the time that he spent here initially, I guess he was with me for 6 years, and I knew who he was, what he stood for. I knew that he really loved the University of South Carolina. He spent some time in another school up the road, but he was immersed in what we stand for, and he's a great recruiter. He's a great evaluator. He's great with people. He knows every coach in this state. He knows everybody. I don't know that you can find anybody to say a bad word about him as a human being, as a professional. So for him to be able to stay with Coach Mainieri was huge. I didn't push that on Coach Mainieri. It was his choice to keep him. But after meeting with him and interviewing him, he said, this seems like a no-brainer to have Coach Lee with me if he'll stay. And I said, well, I feel that way, but I'm not coaching the team. You are. So, but I'm glad he's here. And I think he's a tremendous addition to Coach Mainieri's staff and what's in the future.
Yeah, I don't, not to wander off too far here. I know you don't like to talk about yourself much, but we talk about this from time to time as it pertains to you. There's a lot of athletics directors that are quick to insert themselves when they feel like they want to do it. You've never done that as the AD at South Carolina. When you hire coaches, you let them coach. They get to hire who they want and kind of do what they want. You were a coach, so you get it. Can you explain the importance of that?
Well, I think it's just a situation that they live in that space, and they have to own it, good, bad, or indifferent. And if anybody interjects into that, whether it's me or whether it's another administrator or even a friend or colleague, it's not the right thing for them to do. A head coach is a CEO. He's the president. Whatever the case may be. And you've got to let them blaze the trail. And I think that's the way it needs to be. I mean, there are occasions with some of our coaches where they'll ask me what I think about something, and I'll share some advice, but I'm quick to note that it's just an opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right. But you asked, so I'll tell you what I think. But you may want to go in a different direction than what I said. But it's good conversations. You try to do your very best. It's challenging. I mean, to be a coach, especially in what we know as a conference that just means more with the Southeastern Conference. It's a beast. It's like the American League East all over again, every single sport. Yeah. So it's challenging, and you've got to let them go and let them do what they can do, and hopefully it turns out to be very successful.
All that is not how marriage works. My wife has an opinion, and that opinion becomes fact, and that is what I'm going to do. All right. I know JC, if I'm stepping over your toes here, I don't mean to, but I know this is on your agenda. The scholarship changes, Coach. Boy, I bet when you were the baseball coach, you would have loved to have had 34, 35 full rides to give out to your guys instead of having to do a bunch of math to figure out how you can get these kids to campus. But I think one of the concerns, I don't know if there's any clarity on this. Maybe you can help clear it up. Football, baseball, basketball, is this going to, when you go to full rides, like in football going to 105, does this eliminate walk-on programs, or what's going to be the new normal?
Well, I will try to provide some clarity for you to this point, and there should be even more clarity in the coming weeks. But right now we have a roster cap. Okay, we have a roster cap. That doesn't mean that everybody gets full rides for the roster cap. That doesn't go together at this point. Is it permissible? Could it happen? Yes. Is it likely? Not in my opinion. Okay. If you want to start with football, we'll start at football at 105. Will we go to 105 in scholarships? 105? I don't think so. It's possible. It's certainly possible. But I think there's room to have some walk-ons. whether we stay at 85, full scholarships go to 90, 93, 95, I think there's going to be an appetite from our coaches to maybe stay somewhere less than 105. That being said, it may go to 105, but that would be the cap. You mentioned baseball, 34. Is it likely that every school in the country or the Power Four or the D1 schools will go to 34? Not likely. It's going to increase from probably 11.7, but probably not going to 34. Could it? Yes, it could. But remember, you also have Title IX issues that you have to deal with. And at our university, we're 60% women, 40% men. So a lot of those things have to be factored in. So I share all that information to tell you that as we sit here today, you saw the roster caps come out. You know, 34 for baseball, 105 for football. I think it was 15 for men and women's basketball. Those are the roster caps. They're the max. Could you give scholarships for every one of those? Yes. Is it likely to happen? Probably not. But again, this is one person talking. I'm speculating. I think we'll learn more probably in the next 30 days.
Coach, is that going to come from the SEC? Are you guys going to get together as a league and make sure you're all on the same page with that? Because in football, obviously, you could see one school offers 15 more guys on scholarship, and that's going to, the other schools in the league are going to want to do that. So is that going to be kind of a conference thing you guys determine?
I don't think I heard you real well, JC, but if I understood what you said, could it be different in each conference? Yes, it could be. Okay. Would the SEC be less than some other conferences? I doubt it. Let's be candid. I doubt that would be the case, but we will see. It's just probably not going to be across the board. I think that a lot of schools are going to end up tiering sports, if you will, where I've sort of had the attitude and philosophy when I got here. Look, we're going to compete in everything that we offer. If it's beach volleyball, if it's football, let's win. And I think going forward, there's going to be a lot of schools that end up tiering sports.
Can you guys hear me now? Is it better? GB?
Yeah,
Phil? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So along those lines, the House settlement, the details got released this week, and tucked in there very interestingly is an NIL sort of piece of it that says they're going to have a clearinghouse. Anything over $600 has to be approved. There could be penalties. A lot of folks out there in the media are now speculating it's going to open up for more litigation, et cetera, et cetera. I kind of like it because it kind of evens the playing field and makes NIL what it was intended to be. Your thoughts on that? Do you think it'll hold? What's kind of your general impression about that part of athlete compensation? Because we know we got revenue sharing coming, but NIL is still a thing. Right. Your thoughts about that little piece of it tucked in?
I agree. I think with you, JC, on where you were headed with that in a perfect world, it would be, the market value of what the NIL situation is. Can we get it to be perfect? I'm not sure, but I'm hopeful that it will be. The playing field is a little bit more level. I mean, you can go back in time. Intercollegiate athletics was equal. For scholarship limitations, it was pretty much equal. And we've lost a little bit of that balance. Remember, we used the word parity for how many years? And then that word disappeared. This gets us back to a little with revenue sharing, potentially. It gets us back in a better space. But the value placed on NIL, I agree with where you were going. If we can get that pretty accurate, pretty level, that's where we want to be.
Yeah, it's every individual. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That makes me feel a whole lot more comfortable with the NIL. As you know, I've kind of been involved with that world, and I'm like, yeah, this is probably what's best for the sports in general. Coach, have you been to Baylor University? I know you've been to Texas A&M lately, and kind of gotten a look at the new things they did with Kyle Field and maybe the stadium out at Baylor. Anywhere else you've been, and how do you get ideas, because the stadium project's coming up, maybe from looking at some of the other new facilities, out there around college football, because I think A&M and Baylor both did a really good job. The Baylor Stadium is right there on the river. It's beautiful. So I just wanted to ask your opinion about that and kind of where that stadium project is headed right now.
Well, ironically, I was just at Baylor. I'm not all that excited that I'll have a student. My son's going to be at Baylor as a student this fall. Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
I'm not thrilled. I'm thrilled for him, but I'm not exactly thrilled.
Why did he choose Baylor?
Why? We don't know why. He visited. He visited. He really liked it, and then he thinks it's a great fit for him. So he's going down there. So I was just there. I guess in the middle of July, I was down there with him for orientation. But I do look at a lot of stadiums. I like to see what people have done. I don't think there's anything wrong with, maybe copycat's not the right word, but to see what's worked at some places versus others. And there's a lot of changes. We've got a lot of things that we're talking about. As you know, we've got an RFP out for some land that we have near our stadium in the vicinity behind the Long Family Football Operations Center and around Williams-Brice. But we also are looking at potentially inside of Williams-Brice and doing some upgrades. Premium space was missed many years ago in the athletic department. Not blaming anybody. It's just things happen, right? But I think we have Williams-Brice is pretty special to me, but we missed on the premium space. We need 100 suites. We need whatever the number is. We've done a lot with our club spaces that we've added over the last 6, 7 years, 8 years, but we need more, and that's the direction that we're trying to go. That's what the consumer likes. They like the amenities, they like the upgrades, they like the club spaces, and we need to add in that capacity.
Well, Coach, speaking of Williams-Brice Stadium, 80,000 people will be in there this weekend. You've got the Rivals in Red tour coming to Williams-Brice, part of the 3-city tour. The other two, Philly and L.A., and y'all pulled this thing off. For those that aren't going to the soccer match, it is going to be nationally and globally televised by ESPN at 7:30 Saturday evening. This is a big deal, and it sold out quick, Coach. What are you hoping that the university gets out of this event? And do y'all have plans, or have you had discussions to host additional major events at Williams-Brice Stadium in the future?
Yes, we're interested for sure. I mean, this came about, long story short, Chance Miller was still here. Now he's the athletics director at Coastal, but he gets a call from a colleague in the business that I think had seen us on television for one of our football games, and the atmosphere was a night game. I believe it was against Kentucky. So he just gets a random call from somebody affiliated with soccer, with the Premier League and one of the teams that, hey, it looks like you guys got a pretty special environment. We're looking to maybe go to a campus. And Chance is like, okay, well, I think we'd be interested. So he pops in and he goes, what do you think? I said, bring them on. Let's go. Because, our stadium is used 7 weekends a year, and you can do a lot of other things. We've had Jay-Z and Beyonce were here, and we could do more concerts, and we could do some more things. Revenue generation is a priority in college athletics. We all know that right now. So, and this will be big for us if you'll keep the rain away on Saturday night. But it's very special to have them come here. You probably saw some pictures. We got the field laid out now. Our people have done a great job and worked extremely hard. And Lexi Boone, Chris Rogers, Megan Kennington, so many people on our staff have been dedicated. Jeff Davis of getting us underway for the weekend. So it's almost here, but it's an exciting time, and we don't get to see the Premier League in person like that. So it's going to be a fun event. We just need to try to keep it dry during the match.
Well, you got the best grounds crew in the country, except for the passing of Eddie Dunn. What a guy! What a guy! He'll be there. Go ahead,
He'll be watching over us. We miss Eddie already. All the years in baseball and the things that he did, and he had such a calming voice. And if you're a coach and you visit with your grounds crew and you care about what they do, you always have conversations with him. And he was one of those guys that he was like a stress reliever for me. I'd say, hey, Eddie, how about this or how about that? And he's like a calming explanation. And he took a lot of pride. He took a lot of pride in the graphics work that he did, whether it was at football or baseball. And that special man, and dedicated his life to Carolina athletics. So we do miss him already.
Yeah, graphics on the field at Carolina are second to none. Really, they're elite.
Yeah.
They haven't always been elite, but they're elite. They were elite for the long time he's been there.
Sure.
Going back to the '60s, maybe not, but since he's been there, they're very impressive. All right, so basketball coach. Okay, I don't think there's ever been a coach here that's turned it around as quick as Lamont Paris. You're aware of the history of men's basketball at the school. It's usually taken most coaches a few years. This guy goes 26-8 and 13-5 in year 2. Did you see this coming when you hired him? And it's very promising for this coming year as well. Did you see this coming when you hired him? And your thoughts about what Lamont Paris has done in such a short time with the men's basketball program?
Well, I'd like to tell you that, yeah, I did see it coming, and I knew this was going to happen, but that's not the case. And I going through the process, and when I got a chance to visit with him, he's so impressive. He's a gym rat. He's a basketball guy. He's a wonderful person. He communicates well. I think he fits perfect for this day and age with the athletes of today. And I think the thing that hit me so hard with him was what he did at Wisconsin and the role that he played up there, the success they had during the time he was an assistant. And he was given a lot of credit for that. And I delved into that with his former coach, and we had some conversations, and then we met. It was a good feeling. And, it's been basketball is challenging. It has been. There's been some good years here, but not as many as we would like to have. But I remember when he came back from the Bahamas, when he took that Bahama trip back in the summer, I guess it was a year ago, right? And he said, hey, you know what? He brought this up to me. I will never forget it. He said, yeah, we could be pretty good. I said, what? He said, we could be pretty good. I saw some things on this trip that's really given me some optimism. And I'm like, it was a short trip and you didn't play great competition. What? He said, no, it's not that. It's just the bond, maybe the team culture, the unselfishness. There's some pieces that might work. I mean, he's very realistic. He said, I think we're going to be a little bit better than people think. And, we might win our share. And I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good synopsis. I hope that comes to pass. Well, sure enough, it did. As you know, we were dancing with first place with a couple of weeks to go and ended up, tied for second. Remarkable turnaround. And yesterday, I was actually just talking to Charles Waddell. He'd been over to their workout, and he came back into the building. And, I said, hey, how's our squad? He said, pretty talented group he's put together. So that means something. But then there's that other component, the intangibles that we all know play such a factor in winning and losing in intercollegiate athletics. Is you got good players, you got skill set, but do you have the intangible that brings it all together, that gets you those extra few wins and takes away those extra few losses? So there's a fine line between being really good and just being another team.
Especially in the toughest league in the nation. The SEC has turned into a behemoth. Coach, just a couple more questions and we'll get you out of here. I know you got better things to do and more important things to do. I do. We are now 1 month. We're 1 month away. You mentioned we were talking about Williams-Brice. In 1 month, we're going to walk in there, and Old Dominion is going to come to town, and Shane Beamer will be underway in his fourth year as the head coach of your football program. Compare Shane Beamer now walking into his fourth season versus when you hired him walking into his first season, where he's grown.
Well, the thing we talk about, you hire a football coach. He's a football guy. I mean, the background with his dad growing up in it. I mean, he's a consummate football coach. He's wonderful. He's the communication skills, the coaching skills, all those things are great. what we didn't plan on was the space we're in right now with NIL and revenue sharing coming and all that. It's new to all of us. So we spend a lot of time talking about that. But he's great for our program. There's no question about it. And they work extremely hard, recruit well. And as you mentioned, the league is unforgiving. Yeah. There's going to be some battles. There's going to be some close games. And in football, you win 2 or 3 close ones. That means that you lose 2 or 3 less. Well, that puts you in a whole different space. When you talk about, you might win 7 games, but you win a couple close ones, you're at 9. Well, 9's a lot different than 7 in college football. So it comes down to a lot of that. But I think he's wonderful. He's got a great staff that he's assembled. That building is energetic. You know, a lot of players that are trying to prove that we're a really good football team. I know we didn't get picked in the upper echelon of the league, but you go play the games, and that's what we were talking about a few minutes ago with Lamont Paris. He didn't get picked very high at all last year, but he ended up in that group. So that's what we're hoping to do as well. But it doesn't get any better than Shane Beamer.
Yeah, I love the chip on the shoulder mentality that he carries, and that football team hopefully will carry it too. All right, Coach, you ready? You ready for the tough stuff here? You ready for the tough stuff? You're going to be real thrilled with this.
True, false. C.
So everybody under the sun wants to know about the future of the apparel contract at the University of South Carolina. I know it runs out in 2026. What would you? I know you can't get into all the specifics and this, that, and the other, but what is that? What is the process? You know, what do you do as a university to select your apparel company, and how important are they from your seat in college athletics?
Well, I think that they're extremely important for a lot of different reasons, not only just the branding aspect and great products, which we've been fortunate to be tied into Under Armour, who's been a great partner. I mean, they have been fantastic in service. We went through a pandemic. Nothing ever changed during that time where a lot of our contracts had to be adjusted. We never adjusted anything with Under Armour. They were there for us and have stayed with us. And there'll be a point coming up that we'll have conversations with Under Armour, and then times pass, you open it up to the other competitors as well to see what opportunities that you do have. But it's a combination. We got 21 sports here. We want to outfit our teams, and certainly financially, we'd like to be in a position to enhance our revenue into the department. So a lot of factors go into that. And, there's only 2, 3, 4 companies that we're talking about. So it's a process, and we'll see where we end up in the next couple of years.
All right, Coach. And then just recently we had the report came out that Clemson was approached about moving the football game to Friday night up there, right? And Coach, I actually really appreciated Coach Sweeney's response to that and stating that, look, this community needs this game on Saturday for economic reasons, et cetera, et cetera. But Coach Beamer was asked about it last week at Birdies with Beamer, and he maybe was a little bit more open. He mentioned Florida State, watching that in a hotel room a couple of years ago before they beat the Tigers up there in the upstate, and saying, this thing ain't compete with anybody. Everybody's watching this sucker on TV. Do you land on one side of the fence Thursday, Thanksgiving, Friday, Saturday? What do you think about that, and what goes into that decision?
I think that Coach Sweeney made some really good points for Clemson. I read the story, and we were involved in the conversation as well, although it wasn't our home game. But I do like the fact that if you play whatever day it may be, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever day it is, if you're the only game in town, that's huge. You're talking about a national television audience. You might be the only game. Maybe there's a second game in a different time slot, but typically there's only 2 games on that Friday that we were speaking of. And I think that's extremely valuable, not only for your university, but from the recruiting process, that you've got all the eyeballs, because the next day is rivalry weekend. Everybody's playing. So, and it's okay. It fits. We've done it for many years. I think you can look at it both ways, and we may be dealing with this next year when the game's played here in Columbia. But both Coach Sweeney and the way I see it, both of them are right. Both of them work. But his points that he made at Clemson certainly fit. And there's some value in being the only game in town. I mean, eyeballs were big. It's a part of the brand. It's part of who you are.
So this conversation could continue, and that comes from television, or could the two schools get together and make this decision, or how does that work?
Likely to come from television.
Okay.
Just an opportunity to fill a window.
Okay. All right. Coach, I've got a way out deep in the right center field gap question for you. I know it's something that's near and dear to your heart, and it's about Sarge Fry Field. Like thousands and thousands of Gamecock fans, we all piled in there and watched your Gamecocks and Coach Rains's Gamecocks and Coach Richardson's Gamecocks and et cetera, et cetera. It's that place was special, and it was home. And I've talked to Coach Lake about this numerous times. Coach, is there anything that we can do somewhere on the grounds of Founders Park to build some small replica, some sort of museum, something that brings this new generation of Carolina fans who never had a chance to step foot in Sarge Fry Field, on Sarge Fry Field 15, 16 plus years ago? Have you thought about that? Is there a committee? Can we help? I just think it would be something that would be awesome for Gamecock baseball. You
bring up a good point. I think it's a great idea. I know we're somewhat landlocked around Founders Park, but probably I don't know if you've been out behind center field, behind the batter's eye. That's considered Sarge Fry Plaza out there, and we have that noted, and it's very special to us. But I'd certainly be open to having a mini field, if you will, maybe a wiffle ball space for kids that you could go to Sarge Fry with the name, which you alluded to. I think that's a great idea if we had the space to do that. And who knows, there's maybe some plans at Founders in the coming years. But I'll tell you, I coached my 16 years here. I coached at Sarge Fry for 12 years, which is right outside of my window. Yeah. And I haven't said this until the last couple of years, but I was a little bit scared when we made a decision to move. I knew we were going to move. We needed to move. We needed the space. We needed restrooms. We needed parking. We needed things to get bigger crowds. But I was concerned because we were winning about 80% of the time outside of my window. And now we're going to go to a new, pretty place. Am I going to have the same energy? Because I felt like when I played here at the Sarge that I had a 2-run advantage before the first pitch was thrown. Yeah. And I didn't know if I was going to have it at the new place. Fortunately, we were able to take it with us, but I was concerned about it. And Sarge Fry was so special. And I'll never forget Rod Delmonica came in here with Tennessee when he was coach over there. And he had done some renovations. And I said, hey, your place looks really nice. And he looked at me. He said, I would trade it for what you got. And he was talking about our 5,500, 6,000 people that were packed in, that were not going to be easy on the volunteers that day. And he said, I would trade it for that. So we've had great fans that made a difference in our program. And I know Coach Mainieri is excited about it. I mean, we were like this morning, he's bringing Air Force in to play a fall scrimmage. So we'll probably have 3,000 or 4,000 for that scrimmage when we play. I guess that's the end of October.
Yeah, it's Carolina baseball is special, and I've thought about this forever. I thought, even if you walked in and you just had some built mural or something so people could see Sarge Fry Field and what it was that was home. Not that Founders isn't, but the Sarge was awesome.
Thanks. I'll get my wheels spinning, and then I'll call you for the lead donation on that project.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll get with JC and see what we'll come up with something.
We'll pool our resources there.
Hey, here's the good news. You've put a lot of dudes in the big leagues. There's probably some cash out there if you really gotta, go look for it. You probably know where to.
Yeah, they all tell me that there's a lot of taxes and they have a short career. That's what they all tell me.
Hey, Blake Cooper wants to know who the best right-handed pitcher you ever had on your roster was.
Blake Cooper.
Oh,
Well, listen, when you beat Garrett Cole and he's making $350,000, and Blake Cooper, he can't count that high. But if you look at the box score, of that game he pitched against Garrett Cole. You got to look at that.
yeah.
You got to pull that up. That's
Yep.
one of the most impressive box scores I've ever seen. He just completely overmatched UCLA in that game, and they gave us an opportunity to put the ring on. By the way, Whit Merrifield goes to the Braves, right?
Yep.
And so as he's packing in Philly to go to Atlanta, we're talking, and he's kind of excited because he's going to maybe get an opportunity to play because their second baseman got hurt. He's out for a while. And Whit gets hurt when he gets to Atlanta before he gets on the field. He's taking ground balls at second. And I heard the news that he had gotten banged up, so I reached out to him. He sent me a picture that he had some stitches underneath his fingernail. And I'm like, seriously? I mean, you can't make – I think Snicker made the comment, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's one injury after the other, but hopefully he'll get back out there soon and help the Braves during this stretch drive.
Come on, Whit. A finger. I mean, I know.
It goes back to the teaching technique. I didn't teach him to field this way. I taught him this way. So I don't.
That's right. He just
forgot.
completely lost his fundamentals, right?
After his third All-Star appearance, I guess he forgot the fundamentals.
Yeah, Whit, get back in the outfield. Get back in right field, man. You can't handle second.
Get in the grass.
Well, look, man, we probably overextended your time, but we love having you. It's always great to talk to you. I know everybody always wants a piece of Coach Tanner, and you gave us a bunch of it today. Football's a month away, man. You got a lot going on, so we look forward to seeing you then. And I know you'll be in the ballpark Saturday night. I bet you can't wait to see that field for their first ever global soccer match. This is gonna be crazy.
I'm kind of looking forward to it because it's something different. We're not accustomed to this, but hopefully the weather will cooperate and we'll have a fun night at Williams-Brice.
Maybe Coach Annan's getting some ideas right now, isn't he? Well, how could we play a game in Williams-Brice?
I'm sure of that, and I'm going to tell him, Beamer, go see Beamer. You guys work it out. Let me know how that turns out. So I'm sure that Coach Annan will say that on the 31st when we play Old Dominion, that's our second football game of the year, right?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that makes that's smooth. That's a good point, Coach. All the best to you and Miss Karen and your kids and your son as he departs for Baylor University. Congratulations. There is a transfer portal, so you can always come home.
Good point. Good point.
Thanks for your time, man. We love seeing you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks,